keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. What a weekend we got for you. Starting tomorrow, and I know you guys are going to be talking about it on Throwing Jabs, I hope you are, is the return of the notorious Conor McGregor against Dustin Poirier. Cannot wait. Part 2. That should be a hell of a fight. And then, of course, Sunday is Championship Sunday. The 4 best teams, and you couldn't have asked for better matchups between 4 great quarterbacks, maybe the 4 best in the game, but we'll get into that. But some sad news, as expected, another baseball legend has gone to rest, and maybe the biggest one of them all, Hank Aaron. Hammerin' Hank has passed away this morning at 86 years old. Joe, you actually got to see this man play. You saw him hit 715 and break Babe Ruth's record. This is a big loss for baseball. He was a game changer, and even at the time of when he broke that home run record, there were people that were nervous for him because, well, at the time he was an African-American, played for the Atlanta Braves, and we didn't know how people would react to it. Well, he was loved. He was beloved by all the Atlanta people and by the baseball world. So, Joe, it's a sad loss for baseball, and you got to see this man, so he was an unbelievable talent.
Oh, one of the things about Hank Aaron was, he never hit more than 44 home runs in a season. Crazy. His career was one of amazing consistency and production. Obviously, the 755 home runs. More importantly, don't forget the 1,477 extra base hits, 2,297 RBI. This guy was extraordinary, and him rounding the bases, and one of the most iconic moments in baseball history is as fans ran around the bases. You'll note it is white fans. Probably that's all who would be allowed to have gotten onto the field, but running with Hank, and what a celebrated moment that was. As a Yankee fan, never want to see anybody that's not a Yankee break a record. Yeah. For some people, it was for different reasons, and that's the shame. But I think one of the great things about sports, and I've talked about this a lot, I'll bring it up just for a second because you mentioned it, is Conor McGregor. If you look at the way Khabib Nurmagomedov is hailed throughout the sport, I mean, he's a Russian conservative Muslim, and he's beloved the world over. There's no racism in sports. It's a weird thing. And I mean, when Barry Bonds broke Hank's record, people were angry for Hank because they felt, he was so hard to get that record. He had to go through death threats. The idea that Barry Bonds would so callously violate the rules to break it, seemed like such an insult to Hank's legacy and what he had to endure. But make no mistake, this is one of the great players in baseball history, and just a guy who, for 20 some odd years was just an incredibly productive player, no matter where he was playing, whether it be, Boston or Milwaukee, or in Atlanta, just a true baseball legend, and a sad day for the game for sure, and a tough way to start 2021.
Absolutely. Ted, do you have anything to say?
No, I was just looking at some of the stats, but I was watching the video when I was at the gym this morning, and the biggest thing that they took away from Hank Aaron is take away all the baseball stuff, all the racial intolerance, everything that he did for Black African Americans, for Americans in general, just overall peace throughout the country. What he represented more than just baseball. They had Tim Kirchin on, and he was saying when he had to sit down with him or he got to watch a game or something, he said it was like one of the greatest days of his life as a baseball just a guy, an analyst, a guy to be around the game. And that guy's been around so many greats, but 24-time All-Star, home run king, longevity, RBIs, consistency. But you just think about everything that those guys went through, kind of squeezed in between the Mickey Mantles and the Willie Mazes. with, and everything, and what he represented for baseball, played in Milwaukee, playing in Atlanta, the Deep South, just everything that he represented. You think about, like, we just had Martin Luther King Day this past week. You think about where this country's at, what we've gone through the last 4 years, what we've gone through for the last, feels like 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
Things that we talked about 30 years ago, or things that were represented 30 years ago, really haven't changed that much. We pretend like they're, I told you before, I felt like a lot of things that Trump did, a lot of people used to throw newspapers on spilled milk. I feel like now you start to really represent what people really are all about. And it shows how much we are different, and how people aren't willing to change, and how things, as much as they've changed in the last 30 to 50 years, they really haven't changed that much. The same crap that these guys went through in sports 50 years ago. Now, the sports guys don't face it now as much, so because they're so glorified, and Dad used to say, why do you want to wear someone's name on the back of the jersey? Why wouldn't you want to just represent yourself? It's the black people, the regular African, the regular people that have to deal with, the BS that goes on with this country on a daily basis. And it just shows that as much as we've grown, we really haven't grown that much up, and we're still teenagers. Yeah.
I mean, when he broke the record, the 715, that was actually one of the better moments I've seen in baseball history, just to see those two fans. At the time, maybe you got a little nervous, but seeing them, like, going around, patting them on the back, it was a truly great moment in baseball history to see. But like I said, rest in peace to another legend. Hammer and Hank, you will be missed. A great life and one of the all-time greats.
By the way, I said there's no racism in sports. I just want to clarify that before what I mean to say.
I was thinking about that, Joe. I was like, Joe,
go up to Boston.
I think anybody who's been on a sports team and in a sports locker room understands what I'm saying. The idea, and I talked about it the other night at the end of All Four Downs, our college football show, the idea of, we're all there for one purpose, and we're all working together. It doesn't matter where you come from or the color of your skin or what God or God you don't pray to. Nobody cares. It's, we're working together. And, I've mentioned this before. Larry Holmes felt, he was the champion between Muhammad Ali and Tyson, basically. And he said America was racist and not ready for a black champion. No, they weren't ready for a dick. They loved Muhammad. They loved Mike Tyson. It wasn't your skin color. It was your personality. And I think that's the thing about sport.
Wasn't respected, because long before he became the Hung King, I remember Dad telling he had to have his own private locker. Couldn't be near no one. Wouldn't do certain press conference. It had to be almost like a selfish little kid, a rich little bastard with a silver spoon. And that's part of the reason why he wasn't well respected. I mean, plain and simple. You see certain guys, why they're respected, why certain guys not. Some guys are arrogant jerks, and other guys, are not.
Plain and simple, right? You get treated with the respect that you have for the game, and again, I think Hank exemplifies all of the good things about sports. I was reminded the other day of Louis Castillo when he was had hit in 40 straight games for the Marlins a few years back, and they asked him about Pete Rose and Joe DiMaggio, and he didn't know who they were talking about. I mean, dude, you got to have some respect for the game. I think Floyd Mayweather's an idiot and has no legacy in this sport, and has bred this generation of, I love John Jones, another MMA guy who feels like he's got to play the villain for what? You could be an American icon. I think the biggest crime in sports right now is Terrence Crawford, who's the best pound for pound boxer in the world by a mile. And most people don't even know who he is. Hey, he's a family man. He's a black guy. He's from Nebraska. He's all Americana, undefeated left hand. I mean, he's everything this country should be embracing. And most people don't know his name because he's not an ass like Floyd Mayweather is. That blows my mind. Those are the people we should be embracing and pushing forward. People like Hank Aaron, who made a difference in the world.
And like you said, Joe, everybody needs a villain. Well, speaking of villains, let's get over to conference championship, because that man, TV12, sorry, Patriot fans, but he's back in the conference championship.
Sure, I really want, I don't think he's a villain. If you read it,
no, I'm just saying in the sense, like, You know how people are with Brady.
Can I talk?
There isn't a in between.
For Brady.
There is no in between. That's the thing with Brady. It's either love or hate. Well, he's back in the NFC Championship game, or Championship Sunday, I should say, for the 14th time. That's incredible, let alone. But we always talk about we never got to see great matchups, like legendary matchups. We never got to see LeBron versus Kobe. We don't get to see a lot of great matchups sometimes in baseball. Like I was saying with you, we don't get to see like a Mike Trout versus a Mookie Betts. We don't get to see games like this. Well, now we get a chance to see this for the first time
in
NFL history, conference championship game between two of the greatest. Yeah, you and Mike Trout, your favorite player. and Aaron Rodgers, who to many believe are the greatest maybe quarterback to play the game. And then you have the GOAT in Tom Brady going for possibly number 7 in his first season as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Everything shapes up perfectly this weekend. I'm not even talking about just this game, but it's in Lambeau Field, frozen tundra. There's going to possibly be some inclement weather. Antonio Brown, big news. Ted just told me big news, will not be playing. So that's a huge loss for that Tampa Bay Buccaneer offense. And then you get the AFC. You get new school and you get old school. No matter what happens in 2 weeks, what Super Bowl matchup, I think we all can agree the NFL wins again. Because look at the 4 quarterbacks that are in conference champion. I haven't been this excited for a conference championship game since the New York Giants were in the conference championship. Plain and simple. Because you literally have everything you want. Greatness, you got the future, and you got the 4 best teams, the most consistent teams. And I had said this about Tampa Bay. They were the second best team, or maybe to me, I always thought they were the most complete team. Well, they're going to get a chance on Sunday. They beat the Saints. They were the better team, like I said last week, because Drew Brees could not do it. And I kept saying it, Joe. I kept saying it. And that Taysom Hill was a big loss. But let's get into this game. You get 2 of the best defenses in the game. You got star potential all over this field. But who comes out? Does Rodgers finally get over the hump? This is his first conference championship game at home, by the way. He's always been on the road. Can he finally get over the hump and get back to the Super Bowl? Because we look at it, Brady's legacy is already cemented. When people say pressure, oh, Brady, there's no pressure on Tom Brady. So stop with the narrative. This is all about Aaron Rodgers this Sunday. He needs to win. This is his best chance. Yes, they were 13-3 last year, but we didn't feel like that was a great Packers team, and it showed. This year, we've been saying to some, they've been the best team in the NFC. A lot of people have been saying it throughout the whole year. So guess what? Now it's time at 3:05 to see Green Bay and Rodgers. Can they finally get the job done?
You know, it seems to me Aaron Rodgers is almost disillusioned. I was listening to talk the other day about he really wanted one of these games at home, and I thought, what a like lazy, entitled attitude is that? You get it at home, but you also get it against Tom Brady, the greatest postseason quarterback ever. So,
yeah, Joe,
be careful what you wish for.
Speaking of that, can I take that? Hold on. I got to tell you this stat, both of you. This is what playoff wins, where he ranks among franchises. So the New England Patriots have 37. Okay, the Packers 36, Steelers 36, the Cowboys are 35. That's it. That's the only teams in the history of the NFL that has more playoff wins versus NFL franchises. It's right here. Brady has 32. That's ridiculous. It's absurd.
Yeah, but he's
with Tom Brady
every year for almost 20 years, bro.
In the NFL. It's absurd.
He's been in the playoffs every year. You expect it. He's been to how many Super Bowls? 9. He's been to 14 conference championship games. That means he's playing 2 to 3 games every year, minimum 4. I saw the stats last night. He has over 11,000 yards passing in the playoffs. He has over 77 passing touchdowns. Guys don't have that in their career. He's got it in the playoffs. So I just want to give you a couple stats, and then I'll let Joe do his thing. You know how you were saying pressure and what's at stake. So let me give you a little something that I'm reading about, and I'll read it off so I make sure I say it correctly. A win for the Buccaneers would mark the first non-division champion to reach the Super Bowl since the 2010 Packers. It would also bring Brady's 10th Super Bowl appearance spanning 3 decades. Rodgers, however, has played in only 1 Super Bowl after losing his past 3 NFC championship games and going 1-3 over his career in those games. Rodgers is attempting to avoid becoming just the 3rd quarterback to have fewer than 2 wins and more than 3 losses in a conference championship game. The other 2 guys are Ken Stabler and Donovan McNabb, who are both 1-4. Just a little bit stat that I make sure that I say it correctly so everyone is clear.
That's what Rodgers is up against. That's what he is up against. It's not about Brady. This is more probably about Bruce Arians than it is Brady, because we already know what Brady's done. He's done it all. What can Bruce Arians do? You have a golden opportunity, man. You're 2 weeks away from probably hosting the Super Bowl in your own house in front of now 22,000 fans. The NFL is going to have more fans in the Super Bowl. Originally, I think it was 16,000. Now they have upped it to 22,000 for Super Bowl 55. So I think the more pressure is on Bruce Arians and Rodgers. That's what I think. That's just me.
Yeah. The pressure's on Green Bay. They're home.
But they're also the number 1 seed, right?
Yeah.
They've been the best team. They seem like they're the best overall team of the 4 teams. Trev, you told me the other day before you left for Florida, you go, rank the 4 teams. I said I would rank them as Packers, Chiefs, Buccaneers, Bills. And you go, really? You would rank the Bills 4th? And that's saying a lot, considering a lot of people love the Bills this week. And the Sharks really like the Bills this week. And I wish I had the stat.
Is that because Mahomes? Is that only because Mahomes?
No, it has nothing to do with the injury. Has nothing. If you watch the past 6 games, take out the playoffs from the Chiefs, they have not played crisp football. They have not played the football that you expect. We just expect them to come out and just do what they normally do and score 30, 40 points. And their defense doesn't get the credit half the time because their offense is so good. It's almost like Golden State Warriors, where they were 73 or whatever, 69.
73 and 9.
Well, not even that one. The one where they have Kevin Durant, where they seem like they're unstoppable and then they get beat. So you just question, are they ready to win? But going back to the Bucs and Packers, Joe, I agree with you. I think there's pressure on both teams. To look at the Buccaneers and tell Tom Brady there's no pressure this weekend, he would say you're an idiot, straight up. There's always pressure. They say there's more pressure in the conference championship games than there is a Super Bowl because you've gotten this far. And they say
I think the pressure's on the Tampa Bay franchise, though, because this is when Brady came there, we knew that this team automatically elevated themselves into a Super Bowl contending team. When you get a guy that good, it's that simple. You go for that next step. It's all on the Buccaneers. Like, pressure on Brady? Like, come on. I sound like the idiot then, because I don't. There's never been pressure for Brady anymore. There's just none. He's just going to do his thing. He's just going to keep winning. He's just going to keep winning and keep having the naysayers shut their mouths.
Look, here's the thing about Brady is you could get – Brady could take a subpar team and get them into the postseason. And they would get exposed. But, this is a good Tampa Bay team here. I think right now, we've already decided, Brady was the brains behind the Brady Belichick operation. That's what really made it turn, which I still don't buy. When you look at how decimated the Patriots were, the fact that they didn't go 2-14, which I honestly think Bill's plan was to tank. I really do think that.
They won too many games this year.
They didn't mean to.
No.
They didn't mean to. I think if he could do it over again, he would have found a way to go 2-14 because that would have been better for Bill.
Brains in Tampa Bay. I think because even you can see it, Aaron's even says, I allow him to coach. This is Brady's team. This is all about Brady. This is all about him. This has nothing to do with Bruce Arians. This has to do with Brady. He is the leader. He is the coach. If he could be, he'd be split coach and player.
Hell, you could even say he's the GM too, bringing in players left and right.
It has to do with the defenses, plain and simple. You expect the quarterbacks to do what they do, but if you think about it, we're going to talk about the next game. These are both rematches of Week 6. Okay, The Bucs beat the Packers 38-10. They were down 10-0. They rolled off after a pick 6 and then another pick.
That was one of your bets with Joe.
Yeah. And I said the Bucs would win. And the other game was Week 6 when it was that Monday night game because of the COVID, and it was on a Monday at 5:00, and the Chiefs won, but it wasn't that impressive win in itself. But I want to tell you something, Trev. You want to know about pressure? In the Bucs' 13 wins this season, including the playoffs, Brady's average sacked 1.1 sack per game and saw pressure on 14% of his dropbacks, and his quarterback rating was 82. All right? In their 5 losses, His sacks jumped to 2.2 per game, pressured almost 30% of the time, and his QBR dropped in half, down to 45%. So it's the same thing that I would say with the Packers. Their offensive line has been phenomenal. They stifled the number one defense last week, the Rams.
Yeah.
Right? Expected. Todd Bowles is going to bring pressure. They run a lot of zone defense. Can the Bucs get enough pressure on Aaron Rodgers that when he gets to his third or fourth step that he has to force throws like he did down in Tampa Bay, where those guys can jump passes and cause havoc? And I think also big pickup is having Vita Vea back this week. Huge guy, 350-pound defensive tackle who's going to play in the center. So if you could slow down their running game, Aaron Jones.
You want to know why that defense is legit now? Because the best player is back on that defense. And he showed last week his appearance. And that's 45. And that's Devin White. He didn't play in the first game because of COVID against Washington. They struggled against Washington defensively. Tyler Heineke looked so good that he's going to get an opportunity for a starting job next year. How did Drew Brees and that team look good last week? Devin White was all over the field, making plays, tackles, having a pick on Brees. I mean, he's a difference maker. And it's the same thing with Jair Alexander for the Packers. I mean, these two teams have legit bona fide superstars on their defense. And Devin White, with him back, it changes everything for that Tampa Bay defense. And you can see from the difference from the first week in wild card round to the divisional week. He's back. This team is healthy. It's going to be tough for Green Bay. I know that Rodgers is on a mission, and he looks like it's been easy for him this entire season. But with Devin White back and his presence there, trust me, that defense is different. And now you're saying with Vita Vea coming back, I mean, that's a huge addition to that team. Joe, how do you feel?
Look, Tampa Bay's defense is good. I mean, look, I think anytime you get your all your pieces back, the linebackers, what a difference. Yeah. What a difference it makes. Couple of things I did want to point out, though. Number one, the realignment of 2002, the four divisions, 2 wild cards, and what that did. I mean, that's why that's a large portion of why he has so many postseason wins. I've heard it argued from people, a lot of those divisions. I mean, look how bad those teams were.
Yeah, because they used to have the Colts. The Colts used to be in the AFC East. That means they would have been facing Peyton Manning twice a year for all those years. So that could have been, the difference between having to play on wild card weekend or having the bye week and being the number one seed, which is, and we've talked about it countless times of how bad that division has been for the last 20 years.
You're right. I mean, to me, it's worth noting again when we talk about baseball postseason records with no context, this guy hit the most home runs and like double the games. What is that? Like that? It's got to cheapen it a little bit, and you can't say it doesn't because it does. It's like a different sort of record. Mm-hmm. I'll also point out, in speaking about the Chiefs, which I think is important, and Teddy touched on it a minute ago. December 13th is Mahomes' last 300-yard passing games, and now in his last 5 games. He's got 8 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Those are not Pat Mahomes kind of numbers. Again, you'll note late in the season there were still people that were like, Russell Wilson's still an MVP candidate. And it's like, dude, no, that was like 5 weeks ago. You got to kind of keep up with the numbers everybody's putting up week after week. Pat Mahomes, to me, came up short. He had a great year. Could have had a much better year. That team is not playing great football right now. I think the question is going to be whether Buffalo can run the football at all.
Let me ask you this, both of you. If you had to rank the quarterbacks going into Conference Championship Sunday, how would you rank them?
Are we talking about how they've been playing or just in general? Because
no.
But he's not playing like number one.
If you would take the 4, if you had to rank the 4 quarterbacks, not based on just rank the 4 quarterbacks, how would you rank them going into Conference Championship? Because it seems easy, but it really is. You
got to wait. What? There's got to be some parameters. Rank them what? Mahomes 1, Rodgers 2, Brady 3, Allen 4. But if we're ranking them on how they're playing right now, it would be Allen, Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes.
I would go Rodgers, Allen, Brady, Mahomes.
Yeah, And that's fine too. I go with that.
Rodgers has been so crisp. You know what I mean? And if you just look at his press conference from last week, you know how he usually looks like a stiff, when he's in the press conference, like a miserable. He looks joyful, Joe, like he's enjoying. He was talking last week about having the fans in the stands, what it represented, how good it felt just to have people like the old days. He looks happy. The offensive line is playing great. He doesn't look like a miserable guy. You watched him the last couple of years, it seemed like maybe he wanted out of the Packers. It was dysfunction with McCarthy. It seemed last year there was a little turmoil with LaFleur. LaFleur and him have been, as smooth as the tail in my hair. They have been crisp.
And that's why
Rodgers won, Allen too.
And it's so
Mahomes and Brady, but give or take, I don't think Brady's played well. I think the problem when we look at Mahomes is there's such an expectation that we all expect him to be 10 touchdowns a game, 5,000, you know what I mean? Like we're playing Madden on rookie level. And when he doesn't play as well, Joe, you gave him 8 touchdowns, 4 picks, and you would be like, wow, if Daniel Jones had that. Daniel Jones doesn't have that in a season. And, but there's an expectation that we're so used to him playing at such an elite level that anything below that is subpar. But he hasn't been playing up to the Mahomes' level. You're 100% right, Joe. He doesn't look crisp. I think that toe injury has played a little factor. I also think that they have kind of just gone like riding the lazy river. And they really, in football, they would say you can't just flip the switch. Now, they did a little bit last week, but it could catch up to him this week against Buffalo. But I would rank him Rodgers, Allen. I'll still put Mahomes a little bit above Brady and then Brady. But you're picking.
Yeah, you're good luck.
Between your kids,
I'll tell you what, not for nothing, but if Henny doesn't get the first down there and they punt, I bet you $1 million Baker would have ran him down the field and scored a touchdown to win that game.
Well, if they get that's one of the gutsiest calls I've seen, not in just history,
credit to Andy Reid.
You're 4th and 1 with a backup quarterback, and you're at midfield. They don't get that 1 yard. The Browns are shaping up.
You know what?
Now, I know they didn't have any timeouts, the Browns, but they were shaping up perfectly to go down with Baker and possibly be in the AFC Championship game right now.
I was watching on Fox Sports yesterday, like 5 o'clock at work, called NFL Turning Point. Joe, I don't know if you watched that to get a lot of the highlights and the mic'd up guys, but Andy Reid called the same exact play on 4th and 1 to clinch the game against the Miami Dolphins in week 12 or 13, I believe it was. Same exact play. 3 wide, Trey Hill in the slot. He beats the guy off the thing because they can't press him. And he ran the same exact play with Mahomes on a 4th and 1, where Miami was down by 5 at the time at the 40-yard line. It was on the Miami 40-yard line, and Tyreek Hill ended up getting like 15, 20 yards and going down inside. So Andy Reid talked about it beforehand. I guess all the coaches and players had talked about during the week that if it came to a situation, they were going to do it. When the situation came, they all said, let's go for it. They knew Henny was going to do it. They knew the play. Everyone was expecting. It's a gutsy call, but I think Andy Reid's playing with house money right now.
Yeah.
It seems like a gutsy call because no one else would do it. But he has such confidence in his players and his personnel. And Andy Reid, having the Super Bowl last year, is playing with house money. Because if he didn't get it, then no one would have said, "Oh, that's an awful call."
Here's a quicker question: how would you rank the coaches? Put Reid at number 1, plain and simple. How would you rank 2, 3, and 4?
Hold on.
Joe, go ahead.
Go on.
Listen, what's the one thing I tell you about the Giants?
Is this the one thing, Joe?
We're sort of. I just want to build off of what Teddy said because, look, you point out he ran it in week 11 to make sure it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And it does. And he's like, well, put that back here for when we need it. Right? He knew in that moment immediately, like, I know what play we're running. That's what great coaches do. That's why I say during the regular season, you're the Giants. You're 1-6. Why are you not trying stuff? Why are you not experimenting? Why are you not taking chances? Why do I watch the Mahomes gets the ball, in a regular season game with like 12 seconds on the clock, and he's throwing the football field down before the half. Every other team's kneeling it. To me, elite teams, better teams that know they can move the ball and do it quickly, they do it. They take advantage of every possession. That's what a championship team does. That's what his teams do. And that's what I think makes him one of the better coaches in the league. And absolutely, he's number 1 going into this.
Without question, he's number 1.
Absolutely. Number
Maybe
two,
rank two, three, and
obviously
four.
going into this one would be.
Yeah, see?
See, I'm putting with four. I'm putting with four McDermott because LaFleur's been here. He was here last year. Then I'll put McDermott, and then I'll put in Bruce Arians last. Plain and simple. For me, it's very easy.
I got the peanut gallery over here.
Yeah, to me again, I think 2 and 3 can be interchangeable there. Again, I would probably be more inclined to go with you on that, Ted. But again, to me, 2 and 3, it's close enough. The 4 is obvious, just like it is in the quarterback scenario we just did.
I'll tell you one thing though. In general, Trev, you said it to start the show. The NFL is in a win-win situation.
You can't go wrong with any match.
Every year, we look forward to having.
I feel like that's the fan
Thomas, I hate to say this. But I don't think you're the first person that called it.
I feel like that's Tommy. He's out of his mind. No, but my thing is I feel like that's the favorite going into it, that everybody wants to see that Super Bowl matchup, the Bills against the Packers.
No.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of people pick it. That's what people want to see.
No, people want to see Mahomes versus Brady or Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, because the way they look at it is, remember when the Chiefs were playing the Patriots, it was Mahomes and Brady. It was kind of like the Peyton Manning thing. People
wait a minute.
And then
oh my God.
And then
wait a minute.
What?
All of a sudden, this just makes a million times more sense. How about this scenario?
What, Bills versus Brady?
Tom Brady against Josh Allen.
Yep.
Not only is this a battle for the Super Bowl, we're talking about the AFC Championship, the AFC East. I mean, you want to talk about if Allen could beat Brady at his house?
And for the Bills' first Super Bowl?
Come on. Are you kidding me? Dude, Josh Allen will replace Aaron Rodgers in the Allstate commercials if that happens. I promise you that.
I'm glad you brought up Josh Allen.
Best Bills quarterback. And if he can win this game, we're going to start talking about Josh Allen the same way we talk about Aaron Rodgers, the same way we talk about Patrick Mahomes, the same way we talk about Russell Wilson, because winning games like this on the road and getting to the Super Bowl with teams like the Bills, where you look at, they don't have a running game, their defense is not elite. So if anyone wants to tell me the Bills defense is not elite. It is very good. There is not one player on that team that you go, damn, that guy is a superstar.
Tre'Davious White.
But he's not a super. He's not had the year he had the year before. Either way, the NFL storylines can't lose. You get two great young quarterbacks in the AFC, right? So that's a win-win. You get two electrifying quarterbacks, which you think are going to be the next two elite quarterbacks for the next 10 years. And then you get the two legendary quarterbacks in the NFC. It's a win-win. You get the best.
Hold on, let me ask you guys this question. I'm glad you brought up Josh Allen, because we already know what Rodgers is. So his legacy cemented. It can only grow. We know what Patrick Mahomes' legacy is. I mean, it's cemented. It can only grow. He's going into the Hall. He's already a Hall of Famer. It's crazy to say it, but he's just going to keep getting better and better. And Brady's Brady. What would a win do for Josh Allen? Just the Bills franchise. What would a win to get to the Super Bowl mean for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills franchise? Where does he go in that step? Where does he rank among now the great quarterbacks in this league with a win in Arrowhead?
It's funny, as you just were saying, Josh Allen's the best Bills quarterback. I was like, yeah, come on, Jim Kelly. And I I'm
saying, what would a win do?
Hold on. I'm going to get to you in a minute. I want to get to Teddy first, because I had to pull this up because I was like, dude, I was there. I watched Jim Kelly. 2 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in those 4 Super Bowls. He let that city down 4 times in a row. And as I'm even looking at the numbers, the regular seasons weren't even as good as I thought they were. They're honestly underwhelming in the grand scheme of things. There was 33 touchdowns, 17 picks in 91, 3,800 yards. That was the only really great season that Jim Kelly had.
Can Josh Allen and the Bills win? And I'm looking at that stat right there.
I'll tell you why I think they can.
One-dimensional last week.
I think these guys can do it because we talk all the time about how important having a running game is.
Yeah.
And they absolutely don't. And again, to make the parallel, the Buffalo Bill team of Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and Andre Reed was that offense was great until they got to the Super Bowl. Then it was pathetic when it faced those big tough NFC defenses. So I think right now as the Bills defense hasn't been great, it's been passable.
I mean, it was good last week, or is that just more because Baltimore's offense is still?
It was passable, dude. Again, I mean, like I said, if Lamar needed to make a play, he needed to make a throw, you were going to have a problem. And when he really needed a big play there, obviously in the end zone, it went back the other way, and that was the beginning of the end, and he got knocked out on the next series. So, again, I love Lamar Jackson, but that was exactly the kind of scenario where I'm talking about, where, and we talked about what if they can't get the running game going? Again, the same reason Conor McGregor's going to lose tomorrow night, and listen to throwing jabs.
Stop be a
fanboy. Dustin Poirier is going to choke him out in the third round. Quote me on that. Now,
even getting that over here. There's no way.
Hold on. If I can focus in and stop the run, don't be a fanboy. Conor's fought twice in 5 years. Give me a break.
He's going to win easily tomorrow.
Dustin Poirier is going to embarrass Conor McGregor. If you think 10 weeks in Portugal training,
do you want to lose
out of your mind? Out of your mind. Dustin Poirier, understand, Poirier beat Justin Gaethje. Much better fighter, a great wrestler, and a submission artist. And if there's one thing Conor taps at, it's when he gets those rear nakeds. He hates them. Anyway, if I can focus on one thing, I should be able to beat you. It's the reason why you would think the Bills would have been vulnerable so far in 2 postseason games. Hasn't been an issue. This team's been able to overcome that.
All season.
The Ravens couldn't do it.
Joe, can I jump on with you for a second with this? So I was listening to Brian Gable, the offensive coordinator for the Bills, and he said, you don't have to run the football to be successful, but you got to run the football when it matters most. You got to run the football on 2nd and 2. You got to run the football inside the red zone. You got to run the football on 3rd and 1. You got to get those yards when you need them. You don't need to be a running team, okay? You don't need to be a great passing team, but you need to, it's something that we've talked about with the Ravens. When you need to complete a pass on 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6, you got to be able to complete it. Lamar couldn't do it. The Bills have to, when it's 2nd and 2 and they're on their 40-yard line and they're trying to extend the drive, they got to run it on 2nd and 2 and they got to get the first down. They got to run the ball on 3rd and 1 and they got to run it in the red zone. Now, it doesn't have to be for great yardage, but it has to continue drives and make the drives extend. And I guarantee you there's going to be about 5 to 7 runs this week that are going to be guaranteed quarterback direct runs. Some way or another, if it's a quarterback draw, quarterback sweeps, off the script plays, there will be plays that will have Josh Allen running the ball, which means there will be 11-on-11 football on those plays. Would you guys know Josh Allen's ability, because he's strong, he's athletic, he's fast. We know what he can do with his legs. And that's something that
would you guys say that the Bills rely more on Josh Allen than the Chiefs would rely more on Patrick Mahomes?
Well, right now they do.
Well, here's the thing. I watched the Chiefs last week, and it was 3rd and 1, and they're running sprint draw and sprint option, and I don't get why a $500 million man was running on 3rd and 1, and that's how he got hurt last week. I still can't believe that Andy Reid's running him on sprint draws. He should run when he's scrambling in the pocket, not on 3rd and 1. That's why you picked up Le'Veon Bell, right? That's why you have that's why
Le'Veon Bell's nowhere to be found.
3rd and 1, you should be able to hand the ball off to the guy that's called the running back. Okay? Josh Allen's a bigger, stronger, more athletic guy than Patrick Mahomes. He's also not worth $500 million yet. Okay? By Andy Reid running Patrick Mahomes last week, you put him at risk. You knew he had a bad toe, which is more probably valuable to Patrick Mahomes than his brain is. Because his ability to extend plays, to throw off that foot, having that toe, that turf toe, is a problem. Okay? And it could affect him. The Chiefs we talk about the Bills can't run the football. Neither of the Chiefs. We act like the Chiefs are running the ball for 100 yards a game. When's the last time you've seen the Chiefs really run the football? They don't run the football that well. Patrick Mahomes runs the football. It's 1st and goal and they're running sprint option. You know, I mean, well, think about it. The old days of handing the ball to the running back and let him leap over the top or grind it in, they don't do that. They got Patrick Mahomes, and then when the safety comes up and pops them, everyone's freaking out. I mean, this ain't Josh Allen. This ain't Cam Newton. Those guys are different size guys. So at the end of the day, whatever quarterback can make the right play when it matters most and is going to win the game, because I have trust in both teams and both coordinators. I think Brian Gable's one of the best offensive coordinators in football. Surprised that he didn't get a job. Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator for the Bills, has been top-notch all season. They have a great sound defense. And I trust McDermott. Sean McDermott has put the Bills as one of the best teams in the AFC in a short amount of time. And it's because of him and his leadership. And then you don't have to say any more about the Chiefs. You know what the Chiefs are. This has been the same story. You know how the book kind of ends. The question is, are they going to be good enough that day to win the game?
I know you love Josh Allen, Joe. I know you're a big Josh Allen guy.
Again, the Chiefs, for some reason, the Browns had Mayfield throw the ball 37 times in that game. Chubb and Hunt had 19 carries combined, but they both averaged 5.3 yards per carry. Do you see where I'm going with this? They misplayed the game. It seemed, again, it was a close game, but they thought they were going to throw the football and somehow come back when the answer was clearly on the ground. And the fact that the Bills can't run the football, I mean, they'll be able to move it when they need to, because the Chiefs defense, not great against the run. So I'm telling you, the Buffalo Bills have a great chance to win this game. When you look at Josh Allen, he's not Mahomes, but he can do things like Mahomes does.
He's the closest to Mahomes, Joe.
Absolutely, he is.
Absolutely, be that good.
They're going to need him to play out of his mind. And so to me, if Josh Allen has one of those games where at the end of it, you're like, you hope you started him in fantasy that week, then I think they win the game. If Josh Allen has a mediocre game, their chances of winning are 1%. It'll had to have been a turnover, something or other. Say again.
Let's close it out. Who is going to be in Super Bowl 55?
Green Bay and Buffalo.
I don't know who said that, but I like it.
That was my mother.
What did she say? What did Mom say?
That was the Deb. She just walked in.
What did she say?
She said the Bills.
There she is. Oh,
come on, bring her in.
She said Green Bay and Buffalo.
I like it.
I at the end of the day, it's probably going to be the Packers and the Chiefs because they're the two best overall teams. All right. You have questions about Tampa Bay and you have questions about the Bills. I feel like when we look at the Chiefs and the Packers, you have less questions about their teams. Now, will they win? Who knows? I have no Trevor asked me, do you care who wins? I'm like, no, I really don't, because I have no problem seeing Brady in the Super Bowl. I don't. I think here's another, I told people you could have Green Bay, which is always cool to see Green Bay in the Super Bowl because of the Vince Lombardi trophy, Aaron Rodgers, you see Patrick Mahomes, you see the best, the Bills who have never won a Super Bowl. And then for the Bucs, for the first time ever in history to have the home team to be playing in their home stadium for a Super Bowl in itself is great. And then that Tom Brady's the quarterback. I mean, listen, he's the best quarterback of all time. What possibly could you say that would disappoint you? What, you get to see Brady again? Cry me a river. Who doesn't want to see the best? It'd be like, oh, I don't want to see the Lakers and Celtics again in the NBA Finals. Why? What disappoints you about that? What disappointed you about that in the 80s?
They just don't want to see Brady back in the Super Bowl. They're sick of it. People don't want to see Brady in the Super Bowl. Joe,
because it's the same reason why people don't want to see Alabama and Clemson. No, let's go see Florida Gulf Coast versus St. Mary's in the Blind. Yeah,
great. You mean Coastal Carolina and Cincinnati.
I would honestly watch either one. It honestly doesn't matter.
You call it Texas.
You call it a championship. I'm still going to watch it. I don't care who's in it. That's how I am, and I think everyone else is like that. You might not care as much or bet on it as my. I don't think the teams matter. I like that there's storylines. Again, to me, Allen against Brady is just as cool as any of them.
Absolutely.
So I'll take that one. That's the one I would most like to see. That's the one I'm most hopeful for. I'm gonna pick the Bills, but in my heart, I do believe the Chiefs will probably pull it out. I think maybe the best thing that's happened to the Chiefs since December 13th is they've had to scrape by to win football games. That might actually help them in this environment. And as far as Brady and Rodgers go, Rodgers, it's just like put up or shut up time, bro. You got the game at home. And like I said at the beginning of the show, you also got the greatest of all time coming there to try to take it from you. He's going to have, and again, if you look at the game he had in the 38-10 beatdown, it was his worst game of the year. And I actually had predicted he was going to have that kind of a game because he generally does a couple times a year. Go back and watch the tape, Trev. I did. I said he was going to have one of those dud games. He did. I don't think he's going to have another one. I think he's going to play out of his mind. I think Tom's going to be Tom, though. And that's what I worry about is if there's any time on the clock and the game's close enough, the game's not over until there's zeros because Tom Brady does amazing things.
So, yeah,
I've been on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers all season. I picked them in the beginning of the playoffs to go to the Super Bowl. I had Baltimore coming out in the AFC, but I got Brady. I got the best of all time versus maybe the future and Patrick Mahomes. I got the Chiefs again. I can't. I have to see it to believe it. With does the value every other quarter? They don't want to see it because Brady does the value every. My thing is I don't want. I already know what the Chiefs are. I've seen it. We've seen it for the past 3 years. The Bills, what are they? They look great. The future looks great for Buffalo, but can they go into Arrowhead and continue this hot streak that they've been playing?
I'll just say this, and then I'll say this: the Chiefs will probably pull it out, Joe, just like you said, because they've been here before. They've been in 3 AFC championship games in a row at home, so that plays another factor.
Yep.
And I just think at the end of the day, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes will find a way to make the play when it matters, just like they did last week. You know, even when they had Chad Henne.
Freaking Chad with Chad Henne. They'll be fine.
And then the other game, the Mahomes, and the Packers Buccaneers. I don't want to hear about the cold because the cold's not an excuse. It's a football game. Brady's, if anything you've learned, Brady plays the best when it's cold and weather. But here's the thing that no one really talked about. Brady didn't play that great last week. He executed when it mattered. It was the defense. And Devin White. So if that defense can play like they did in week 6 or in last week, they'll make it to the Super Bowl. But I don't think they'll be good enough. And I watched the Packers last week dominate the Rams, and I think they'll do the same thing this week. They'll find a way to pull it out in a close game, but Aaron Rodgers will win at home. And then we'll get the State Farm Bowl, and I think Allstate and will have a big banner at the stadium. And either way, we'll all be winners at the end of the day on Sunday.
100% agree. Couldn't have asked. You can't ask for a better conference championship Sunday, and you're not going to ask for a better Super Bowl matchup. It does not matter. All these matchups are going to be great. You got the 4 best teams to have a chance to go to Tampa, Florida, to win a Super Bowl. Can we see a repeat? Can we see Brady go for 7? Or do we get to see Rodgers finally reclaim the throne of being one of the greats of all time? Or could the Buffalo Bills, the newcomers, could they finally get over the hump? But don't forget, nobody likes to circle the van like the Buffalo Bills.
I would like to, obviously not today, but sort of explore what Jared was just talking about. Jared Jones commenting about how all of Brady's accomplishments are really only devaluing the accomplishments of other quarterbacks. When we're having the conversation about the GOATs and we're talking about Bradshaw and Montana as being the only comparable guys to,
or Peyton or something like that.
Joe, I don't think it devalues. I think it just speaks to the impressive of what Brady has done in a career. Think about his age too. You know what I mean? Drew Brees looked old last week. Tom Brady looks better.
Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, but look at 6 Super Bowls.
43 years old and still looks like he's 33 years old.
Can you imagine if this guy somehow wins another Super Bowl? 7. He'll be the only guy to have done it on 2 teams. Well, no. Yeah. Is that right? That is right.
What?
Peyton didn't win it in Indy.
Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Right,
So even the one thing Peyton holds over Brady, he could match him on that too. What a Brady thing to do, isn't it?
Win with 2 franchises.
What a Tom Brady thing to do. The one thing Peyton's like, I did it in 2 places. Yeah, watch this. I won 6 here and 1 there. Maybe they'll repeat next year too.
Who
Who knows?
What would make things worse is that if he won it in his first year as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
Yeah.
Well,
All in all, boys, football fans, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy some great football and a great weekend of sports too. Like I said, you get the McGregor return tomorrow. Cannot wait for that. And then you got
one more thing on McGregor. He's fought 2 fights since 2016. 2. And he's 1-1. Poirier's had 9 fights. 9 fights in that time span. The only loss was to Khabib, who he put up a much better fight against than did Conor McGregor. You'll all see Saturday night.
Check out throwing jabs then. And we'll have to see tomorrow morning and see what you guys have to talk about. We have a lot to talk about. It's a great card, and it's going to be a great weekend. I can't wait for it. NFL fans, let's enjoy it because soon football will be over for the next 6 months. And then you guys really up in Connecticut won't have nothing to do. No football, cold weather. At least I got nice weather up here.
No, just hit the hang up button.
Just hang up on me. Guys, Joe, as always, thank you guys. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are out.
Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we're unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.